I just want to make sure you saw my serious face. So yeah, this is serious. We're about ready to begin. This is Chrome 101 for your one-to-one, and my name is Dennis Grice. I'm from Southern California, kind of in the backyard of Disneyland, hence the goofy hat, which I will not be wearing through the whole session because you probably just had lunch and I don't want to make anyone nauseous. Presenting with me today is my partner in crime, Rachel Yurk, and
check who I was.
I did. I want to make sure you were paying attention. I will let her tell you about herself, and then I'll come back and tell you about me that's not quite so goofy.
Hi everyone. As Dennis said, I'm Rachel Yurk. I'm here from Wisconsin. I teach, yay, Wisconsin. I teach in the Milwaukee area, a suburb of Milwaukee, Muskego-Norway schools. I have been teaching, well, over 20 years now, we'll leave it at that. And this is my third year as the technology integrator for the Muskego-Norway schools. And our presentation on my behalf, half of it, is in regards to our school district is in a one-to-one program over 3 years. So this is year one. So we're still in the deer in the headlights. There's my Wisconsin reference, Kathy, just so you know, the deer and that, yeah. Anyway, deer in the headlights stage. We know there's a lot more to come. We're waiting for a few other shoes to drop, but we're seeing really, really exciting things happen, changes happen. Our one-to-one is with Chromebooks, and like I said, we're in year one, and in year one, we handed Chromebooks to every 5th and 9th grader in the district. And year two, we will expand, so it will be 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Year three will be 5th through 12th grade. So over 3 years, we will bring our district to a 512 Chromebook implementation. So yeah, Dennis, you want to share a little more about you?
I come from a different perspective. Rather than being a district person, I'm at a single school site. And we are in our second year using Chromebooks on carts, so the kids do not take them home. Last year, we had just 5th grade. And this year we've added 4th grade and 5th grade using Chromebooks and carts. They use them in the classroom at school, but they stay in the carts at night. The students do not take them home, but they can access, if they have web access, they can access their Google accounts that way. So I'll be speaking from a single school site perspective on how we're using the Chromebooks, how we're managing them, and you know, how the students and teachers are doing some amazing things and creating with them. One thing we've set up for today, I'm going to be monitoring some of the feedback. We're going to take turns. We set up a Today's Meet. And if you go to todaysmeet.com/ICE101, and it is case sensitive, you need to put the capital ICE 101. There's basically like a Twitter chat, and you can put your name in and add to the conversation. If you have questions, concerns, we'll try and address those as we go along. Or if you see cool links that you want to share out with the rest of the group, use that as kind of our group community back channel sharing. Exactly. If you have links that you want to add to the conversation that we did not cover on our website, what we'll do when we're done is we'll take a transcript of this and we'll add this to the website so you can look at those links and have those resources. So we're.
To get to the site is the bit.ly that you see above the Today's Meet link. So you can go to this site itself.
Okay. Would you like to talk now? You seem to have started already, so I'll let you go.
Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
I would like to introduce James is here, and you may have seen him in the exhibit hall. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself. And he's agreed to come and kind of support us and help us out and be a contact for you as well. And we did put one of his resources on the ICE 101 site that we created that we'll be working off of today as well. So, yeah.
Gotta adjust this. Hi everyone. So my name is James Leonard. I'm on the Google for Education team based out of Mountain View. So flew in on Tuesday night and brought my scarf and my gloves, and I've been loving it so far. So I actually work with districts all across the Midwest, and our focus on our team, we're a real small team, but when we engage with districts, it's really at that critical point of, we're thinking about going one-to-one, but we have some questions. And a lot of those questions are around how do we align our curriculum goals with our technology goals? How do we structure professional development so that our teachers are supported throughout the process? How do we manage this technology from a budgetary standpoint? How do we work with the community to gain support? How do we structure a support team at our school site level? So all of these questions around change management, around PE, are great questions, and they're ones that if you guys are moving down this path, we're definitely here to help. We have a wide network of partners of Google certified teachers and trainers, of companies like Promevo and CDW and NewMind, and folks out there that are living and breathing Google Chrome, and then also our team as well. So I'm really excited to kind of share some of the resources and best practices that we've compiled over the last year. We're 2 years in the Chrome world, and then also be a resource for you all going forward. So I'm really happy to be here.
We're really happy he's here too, because he's provided a lot. Sorry, I hate that creepy sound. He's provided a lot of support in my district is working with him too, so it was a great opportunity to get to meet him in person rather than just hearing about him. So he mentioned professional development, and I think that's where we'll start unless there's anything coming up. Okay, so that's a lot of my role is professional development as a technology integrator. So this first section that you see up there is the professional development site in Muskego, where I am. There's the Muskego Google Apps Essentials and Muskego Getting Googly. And you'll notice after Getting Googly, it says that this is under construction, and that's what I'm doing when I get back to work, is that we have like 2 weeks to complete that site, and so my team is still working through that one, but you can watch it grow. You can definitely go there. Professional development for us, we didn't just take on one-to-one in Muskego, we took on one-to-one and Google Apps for Ed all in one hit. So we did not turn on Gmail until this past summer. And so our kids were arriving with brand new Chromebooks. Our teachers were in 5th and 9th grade trying to restructure the way they taught around that a little bit so that they had those resources. They were going from lab carts that take 20 minutes just to load the individual machines. And you can imagine, it's not that we wanted them to change what they were doing. We wanted them to make what they were doing better, but there was a lot of change that went on for them. They took on a lot, but they also took on a lot of tools professionally at the same time. So our research showed that they needed really 6 months of training in something new prior to the actual implementation. So we targeted those 5th and 9th grade teachers about this time last year, giving them the summer to work on classroom changes that they were going to make. Like I said, we went from Outlook to Gmail over the summer. That was kind of, there was no way we could change that for them. That was the one change that had to happen. But we built this Google Apps Essentials page, and I'm just going to go there so you can see it. There were lots of really good things, EdTech challenges out there. That's another one that was not finished at this time. So we didn't have anything to go off of. Google has some really great resources that are in our resource section as well. Those were not done. So we basically built our own modules that teachers had to go through. Some of them you can see on the tabs across the top were optional. We did not want to overwhelm, but we knew that if you were a teacher that was entering into a one-to-one environment, you really had to do this. This was not something that we could do in our existing PD time for teachers. It was something that we offered to support them before and after school. So this site was built that technically teachers could say, okay, I'm going to start here and I'm going to work through this. There was directions on each page. There were different videos that we found, sometimes that we created, that talked about each individual thing that they had to do. And sometimes there was a performance task. And those performance tasks often led back to something that I kind of moderated. We did not say they had to watch every video or read every document or print every document, and lo and behold, we had teachers who created binders and then the big black bar disappeared. That was devastating. They had to rebuild their binders. That was, we just kept saying, stop printing, stop printing. We also offered 8 workshop sessions over the summer for our staff. So it was available online, and if you felt competent and comfortable doing that on your own online, that was fine. We did not interfere. We always monitored email and supported from afar, did Google Hangouts when needed. But for the teacher that really felt like they wanted that one-to-one time, our team pulled together 8 sessions that you could come. And we did have people who started off by themselves, working through it online, and then said, I took off more than I can chew, I really am not sure about this, I want to have a good handle on it, and they would come to a session. So sometimes we thought we were presenting to 15 people and 35 showed up because they just dropped into available sessions. So there was definitely a comfort level there. It's not to say there wasn't anxiety about it, but there was comfort that they had resources. These resources people come back to all the time. At least we here, they do. We also then looked at that site, that Google Apps Essentials, and we then took feedback from staff. And we heard some things. We heard some people felt that there wasn't enough accountability. My friend raced through it. I don't think she did it as much. Nobody's checking on this. I'm not sure I really understand it to the proficiency level that I should, so on and so forth. We realized we needed more accountability. Shockingly, the teachers did want that. We also had teachers that struggled with our structure, and so we are in the process of rebuilding that same Google Apps Essentials, just in a different format that is a little bit more structured and linear, as you can see here. So each of those individual modules has been broken out, and actually these will change a little bit based on the post-it note from the last meeting I got. Funny. They start with a pre-assessment, just 5 questions, just 5 simple questions, and if you can score a certain amount using a Google script, or a script within that form, yeah, we will email them and say, great, you're good to go, here's the link for the next thing. If not, they can pop into the learning activities and they can learn what they maybe don't already know or are not comfortable with, either watching videos or reading documents, or maybe both, depending on the kind of learner that they are. And then finally, they take a completion assessment. These are not all finished. If you were to go to a lot of these links, remember this is the one under construction, they're there. We also wanted to add that integration piece. We don't ever want to forget that. And we had that as a separate site. We wanted to embed the integration. How are you going to change your daily business based on the fact that you have these tools? So we wanted that to be really embedded, so we added that as a last piece. And that's going to continue to build. And we know that this being a Google site that is our training, we can always update and change directly within here. So that is Muskego's model currently. I'm going to let Dennis talk about what's going on at St. John's.
Okay.
You're signed in as me, so if you add anything to today's meeting, it's going to look like it's coming from me.
I like that.
Yeah, that's why you never leave your computer open and signed into your Twitter, because friends can do some interesting things to you sometimes. Being at a single school site, I love how organized your stuff is. That's fantastic. I do a lot of personal training and some subversive training, actually. But this is the training site that I use to support our teachers. And we went 100% apps for education last year at the start of our Bring Your Own Laptop program for our middle school. So as I said before, our 4th and 5th graders are using Chromebooks on carts. Our middle schoolers are bring your own device, Mac, Windows, laptops, whatever, but everything is all done in Google Apps, because Google Apps is the equalizer. It's a common experience no matter what platform you're working on. And as I was introducing our teachers to Google Apps, we started with, and I started with forms, and I always think of forms as your gateway drug to Google Apps. Because once teachers can learn how to use forms, it's like, oh my gosh, I can send this out, I can make it a link, I can get information back. It's just really, really cool. And I have some resources that I use there. And then we moved on to docs tutorials and managing docs, and I have to update this because now it's kind of a single sign-in. But there are ways to get into our Google Apps for teachers. And we have it set up at my school. We're starting off careful. We have our apps domain basically locked out. I mean, it's kind of a walled garden approach. Students that have access to email, and we can turn email on and off with the management console, they can email each other, anyone that has a campus email address. But email from the outside doesn't come in, and they can't email out. When I was able to make a couple of exceptions. So our teachers sort of look at our campus apps domain as their classroom, their online classroom. Students can share stuff with them, but right now we sort of protect them from the world because we're talking about students in 4th and 5th grade. And also with the apps control panel, and maybe I'll just kind of hop over to this window and show you what it looks like. This is our apps control panel. And these are our users, and don't take a picture. Oh, I probably shouldn't put that up. I don't want to see, we're streaming, so I'm not going to put student names up there. But we have them broken into different sub-organizations. And different sub-organizations have different things turned on and off. For example, for all our students in grade 4, they have access to docs and calendar and contacts. And that's pretty much what we use with them. In 5th grade, we turn on sites because our 5th graders use sites to create Explorer sites. They collaborate on those. And in California, every 5th grader does the dreaded state report. Are you guys familiar with the state reports? Yeah. Well, now they're using Google Sites for their state reports. And they're creating multiple pages about state history. They're embedding Google Maps with popular tourist and historic sites. And it's been a lot of fun. And parents come in and they look at it and say, wow, you made a website. How cool. Middle school, we have the Gmail turned on, but like I said, it's that walled garden Gmail. So they can't share outside our domain. And then I have a faculty where we have a few other things turned on, but the faculty is basically used by our teachers for communication between the teacher and student. This is not an outside email. The outside email goes through our regular school email that they have. So I say think of Google Apps as your classroom, not your office. One of the things that I noticed in the Today's Meet that came up was the issue of managing the Chromebooks physically and the issue of how do you deal with damage, and I think Dave said something about broken keys. And we're using the Samsung 303s. We also have some of the Series 5s that are 2 years old. And I gotta say that battery life, they're holding up really well. We haven't had a whole lot of issues in the carts with broken screens, and I'll let Rachel talk about how she's dealing with that in just a second. One of the things that we did, and we were very intentional at the start with the carts, the way we designed the carts, is I didn't want the students pulling the laptops out of the cart while they're plugged in. So you don't. So instead of having them try and pull it out while it's plugged in, we turn them around and have the cords hanging down in front. So in order to take the Chromebook out of the cart, you have to unplug it and take the Chromebook out, and then when you put it back in and you plug it in. So they see the cords hanging down in front, and that's saved a lot of hassle as far as them trying to pull it out with the cord still plugged in. The other thing I did, and if you've looked at how the Chromebooks plug in, there's a little elbow cord on the Samsung. You've got the little cord that plugs in, and you don't want them pulling it out like this by the cord. So I put red tape around it. And remember, we're dealing with 4th graders, and I said grab it by the handle and not by the bottom of the cord. So the red part is you just say don't touch the hot lava, and just pull it out, and that's prevented issues too. And just we make sure that they're shut down and they're careful. We train them carefully to put them back in the cart, and that's prevented. We haven't really had any screen damage issues with the ones in carts, but I'm going to let Rachel address how you're dealing with screen issues and keys.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go back here so that home site is up. Apparently not. Okay, so damage and things. We are using the Samsung 303Cs as well. I did not bring one, neither did Dennis. There has been screen damage. We did buy a case as well. Our biggest challenge, we love the case that we purchased for them. The case has a pocket in the front that you can put a cord in, but the cord, if they travel and then they jam the case down in their backpack and then their feet are on it on the bus, or they put other stuff in, that cord being in there puts pressure on the screen, and then we get more cracked screens. So we've pretty much forbidden those cords to come to school. That's why we purchased that device. It has such a long battery life anyway. So we don't want to see the cords, and we offer we just swap out Chromebooks with kids who come to school and need a charge in the library. And we charge them for them and give them a spare for the day. That way, and we have given each teacher one cord to charge with in a pinch. It's not perfect or seamless. We have all of our families were offered insurance through Worth Avenue Group. It came to $30 a device. And I don't know the percentage, I'd have to go back and look. Some took it, some did not. That has been really nice. What happens if there's any problem with the device is we box it and send it to Worth and it comes back repaired. That handles even things like the dog chewed up the cord at home and we need a new cord, that's covered. All of those kinds of things that have happened. As far as those uninsured devices, our tech team we literally took our very first device that was broken, we ordered a screen, we all sat around, watched a YouTube video, got out the screwdrivers, and we learned how to repair it, and they're pretty quick at it. And we have a high school class that will be taking that on for us. It's not a course class, but we have a high school group of kids that are going to be taking it on. It's a real simple task to do. If you've been out to like East Leiden, they do the same thing there. So that would be one thing. Our most recent thing, you guys will get a kick out of this, is that the elementary school, they learned, and this is just good to know, Flappy Birds is now in Khan Academy. If you did not know this, if you have Khan Academy open, which most schools do, kids can get into Flappy Birds and play it in Khan Academy. Great if you're teaching coding and that's important to you, not great if you have a Chromebook one-to-one. And you might wonder, why is that? Well, how do you get the bird to flap? You have to repeatedly push the touchpad to keep the bird flapping. Touchpads are not meant for that kind of abuse. They're meant for touch, not this constant repeated slamming down on the touchpad. So we had to block that area because our elementary kids were damaging their touchpads by repeatedly hitting the touchpad in playing Flappy Birds. So, live and learn. That was one of our experiences overall. Other damages, things that we have seen some of the keys, but again, luckily most often that happens to an insured Chromebook. We are most likely going in year 2, where we have 4 grade levels that are coming in with Chromebooks. We will likely switch to a self-insured model. Just wanted to go through this first year, see what the break fix was going to be like, and I think we are pretty comfortable dealing with our own insurance, and we'll have those high school kids on board, and then we'll just self-insure, and that will make some good sense to us. I read in some of today's things some discussion about training and that sort of thing. How did families or community members, how did they come across, feel about Gmail, feel about Google Docs and that sort of use? One thing that was unique is that we had all kids coming in before they got the Chromebook. They were required to do either, depending on whether it was high school or middle school, it was called a boot camp. And they came in and they got intensive training on this is what it is, this is how you do it. We hit policy really hard, we hit bullying, we hit appropriate behavior, appropriate use, all of those kinds of things. So whenever we've had a problem, and we have had kids hack, port scan attacks, a few things, very interesting things that have gone on, we have been able to directly go back to those policies and things that kids talked about in their boot camp. We did require at the middle school that our middle school teachers taught their own boot camp. We felt that if you were okay to start using Google Docs in September, then in August you should be ready to teach the basics of Google Docs. And they were on board with that, and they did a fantastic job. We gave them a site, we built them a site that they could then go in. You can see it starts with our general one-to-one information for our parents, goes into policy review, and then simply like, how do I log in? We provided the teachers with those resources, and then on day 1, 2, 3 of school, when they had to go back and review, these sites and these presentations were there for them. So we did a lot of the background work for them, took the fear out of it so they didn't have to think about that kind of stuff. We wanted them to focus on integration, not learning the device. And if we could provide those presentations for them, that helped them out. We also did that same site, we copied and repurposed for the community. So that concern, that question of my kids know more than I do, and what am I going to do about it? And I don't know if I'm comfortable with my kids having a Gmail. I don't know if I'm comfortable with my kids being able to do all these things. We wanted to be able to say, come learn with us. We did 2 parent community classroom nights, and out of that, I think I had 3 parents that personally sought me out for an additional one-on-one training, where they were like, you know what, you gotta help me. I am so lost and I'm so scared for what my kid's future is because I can't help them. So that was a really, really big piece, and it was really a learning part for us as well. We have not had another request for a Chromebook community night, but we had anywhere from, I don't know, maybe 10 to 35, 40 people show up for that. We also put out, on that site, we put out a link where they can ask further questions should they need to. So our community training and our parent training was a big help overall. All right, Mr. Grice.
Ann was taking my pictures.
You want to talk about any community stuff?
We got a little bit of community stuff that we've done.
Yeah, dealing with students and computers and digital citizenship was a big thing when we were working with one-to-one in our middle school and also with our Bring Your Own Device. And we tried some community digital citizenship information nights and some internet safety nights. We tried to do. But the focus on internet safety, we did not want to bring in the FBI guy and scare parents to go home and unplug everything and put foil around their house and everything like that. But what we wanted to do, we called it aware tactics and not scare tactics, just to make parents aware of what's out there. And they were really good nights. Unfortunately, the attendance was less than stellar. We got some fantastic feedback, but as typically happens on nights like that, the parents that show up are the ones you're least worried about. So to kind of stem that a little bit, for students that are coming into 6th grade at our school, where they're starting to move into the Bring Your Own Device program, we have parent orientation nights that are mandatory. That's where parents come with their students, and we have, I do 7 of those in the last week in August every year, and we go over our school internet use policy, we go over internet safety. We let the parents know that in order for this program to be successful, you need to be partners with us. You know, we can do what we can at school, we need you to support us at home. And we talk about basic things, you know, like monitoring and keeping communication open with your child on whatever they're looking at online. We tell parents, do not let your child charge the computer in their bedroom. Students do not have the restraint to, if I can't sleep, it's 2 a.m., I'll hop on the computer and try and see what Billy's doing. When middle schoolers need their sleep, we want them sleeping at night, not in class. And one thing, and it's I think one of the best parenting skills ever, and I showed this photo of a note that a parent had put on the refrigerator. If you want today's Wi-Fi password, vacuum the floors, clean your room, take the trash out. And we let parents know, you have this power. When your student gets that device, part of the acceptable use agreement is, I have the right to say no and tell you when you can turn it off. And just, you know, it seems interesting we have to allow parents, we say it's okay to say no to your child. That's a big deal. It really is. It's like, I can say no to my child? Yes. Be a parent, not their friend. So that's had a much more wide-reaching effect by having those mandatory nights to get them in there. And we also go over how to get connected. We go over some basics, how to log into the school network, how to log into Google, and we explain how Google Apps works, you know, how it's all cloud-based and it's saved automatically. And that's actually worked quite well. Rachel, should I move into some of the stuff we're doing in the classroom, or are there other questions we should be dealing with that are coming through?
No, people are putting great resources on.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for the resources you're putting it up. We realize we cannot put everything on here, so the today's meet, you guys are rocking it. So, you know, raise your hand, give yourself a pat on the back, and say good job. Appreciate that. Chrome apps, we got a few apps that we push out. We haven't done any purchase apps yet, but some of the ones, and these are, I put these resources up here that we use with our 4th graders and 5th graders on Chromebooks. We use Typing Club. Keyboarding is still a big deal, and when they've got the Chromebooks in front of them, if they can't use all 10 fingers to type, it's going to be a slow and painful process to have them get any work done. So the advantage of having the Chromebook carts is they have access to them a lot more often than just a half hour or an hour a week in a computer lab. They can work on that, when they have time between classes or time, where they're finished their work. So we use Typing Club, and that's something that they can sign in with their Chrome, with their Google ID and continue where they left off. We use Spelling City Vocabulary. That's an app that we pushed out. Pixlr Express is photo editing. You can upload photos to your Google Drive and do some basic, kind of like you can with iPhoto type photo editing, and it's all done in the cloud, and that's fairly powerful. And one that we're not using with fourth graders, but an app that I think has some great potential is an app called MoveNote. And I'm a big advocate, if you saw some of my earlier presentations on digital storytelling. And MoveNote is an app that lets you basically add slides, and you have a little video of yourself and your images over here, and you can kind of create a multimedia presentation in Chrome. And I think it's actually a fairly powerful thing for sharing and working with that. So those are some Chrome apps that we use. But we also, close that. We also have just some web tools that are not necessarily Chrome apps, but ones that work well in elementary. How many of you are working with elementary? Okay, good. All right, check some of these out. I love the stuff from Rewrite Think, and I'm a big fan. And these are my three favorites: trading cards, timeline, and Venn diagram. And they are tools that work in a web browser. The trading cards lets you create a trading card and then save that, and then once it's exported, we have the students take that PDF and upload it to Google Drive and share it with their teacher. And our fourth graders are working on president trading cards right now. So that's a big win. The other two ones that I think from Rewrite Think that are really strong, and there's a lot of web tools that they have, but Timeline lets students create timelines and add images, and those timelines can be sent and shared with a teacher via email. Venn diagrams, you can add 2, 3, 4 circles and let them use it for sorting, and those can be saved. And I'm also a big fan of Storybird. Storybird works well with a web browser, and students can use this. They use Storybird. They select basically a collection of art that's already pre-made by artists. And with that selection of art, they then bring the the pictures in, but they have to add their own words. And they use these to create storybooks that can be shared with a URL. And if you've never played with this, it's great. You can sign up for free. You can get a free teacher account and create a class where your students can work on these and share them with you online. And it's just, like, I've worked with kids where you say, oh, today you're going to write a story. Today we're going to go to Storybird. Yay! Okay, it's not maybe a little more animated than that, but you kind of get the idea. So, all right, I made Anne smile, so at least that was worth it. You just jumped up. That sounds like you want to talk.
No, I just.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let's see, how are we doing on time?
I don't know. How long is it?
We'll keep talking until people walk out.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I just saw someone walk out. We must be done.
11:45.
11:45.
12:30.
10 minutes.
12:30.
Fantastic. Okay. I'm going to go back to the website. Okay. Oh, yeah, why don't you jump in? This is a perfect time for you lull in the conversation. Come on.
You want to share the resource? Can you share? I put it on the resource.
You put it on the resource.
Yeah, it's the second one. That's the one on the second, right? Yes. Fantastic.
Cool. So this is a resource that I actually put together for an event that we had in Connecticut a couple weeks ago. And this is, raise your hand if you guys have been to a Google Apps Summit. Right? Or you've probably been in a session where they've had a resource slam or something to that effect.
Who's coming? Who's going from here to the Illinois Google Summit?
At Glenbrook, Saturday, Sunday. Couple
Anybody?
people?
So,
Cool. We'll see you there.
yeah, we'll see you there.
So I tried to model this presentation just after those resource slams that I'd seen at Google Apps Summits, which are just fantastic. And the short link is here. It is all case sensitive. So it's goo.gl/lowercase k r7 lowercase e uppercase p j. And I would definitely encourage you to follow along. It's also linked off of the site that we've been working on earlier. So I want to just go through and do a quick slam of some of the resources out there as you're kind of charting down this journey of one-to-one. And so the first one is one that's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's called the Chromebook ROI Calculator. Really great tool for decision makers, and it's linked right off of this link right here. So we worked with a company called IDC that does a lot of white papers, that does a lot of calculations and things. And what this ROI calculator does is it actually calculates and quantifies the economic value of moving to Chrome. So it enables you to put in all of your legacy systems, how many old laptops, how many old PCs, how many old tablets you have, and actually calculate the savings, the total cost of ownership savings over a 3 or a 5 year period if you move to Chrome. And what that takes into account are things like IT hours, like how much IT time or how many more IT staff we'd have to hire in order to manage Windows laptops and update patches or update OS, as opposed to manage that through the cloud. So a really great useful tool. When I've worked with districts that have adopted this tool, it's largely been around, we need to take a number to our business office. We need to take something to the school board. And so this is a great resource that's free and there for you to use if you need some numbers. The next is something that I'm also really excited about. So just a couple of weeks ago at FETC, we announced our new Google for Education Professional Development Learning Center. By show of hands, have you guys had a chance to check out the new Learning Center? A couple people here or there? So it's really great. If you've gone through the transition in moving towards Google Apps for Education, you know there's a huge community of teachers out there and so many resources. But prior to our Learning Center, there hadn't really been a central spot for all of those resources. So this is again linked off of the presentation. If you go to google.com/edu and click on training, you're brought to this landing page, and this has a couple of really great things for you. First is the general overview. We have new lessons under the tools section, updated information about different certifications. If you're interested in becoming a Google certified educator or Google certified teacher, those are all living in this area off of certifications, as well as communities and resources. So what I really like about the tools section is that we've segmented out the learning based on product. So you'll see 12 different product areas. So Docs, Drive, Gmail, Sites, Calendar, all the way down to digital literacy and implementing Google Apps from the admin side. And what we recognized when we were creating this professional development portal was that teachers, in the same way as students, we have we need to be differentiated, right? There are different levels of learning as you're entering into a new initiative. And so we tried to level our PD as much as possible here. So for each product, there's a first section, which I like to refer to as the what. So what is Docs and Drive? What are the features of it? What are the benefits of it? What is it basically? And the second level is how to actually apply that in class. So for Docs and Drive, for example, there are 8 different sub-lessons. For example, how to manage class and school data more effectively. And there's documentation and videos by Google certified teachers and trainers about this particular sub-lesson. So we're really excited now that all of this information is in one central source. I've heard some really innovative ways that folks are using this professional development portal. For example, they're almost flipping PD. So before they have their teachers come in for an in-person session, they're assigning a couple lessons in one of these product areas. They actually created a Google form with open-ended questions that the teachers fill out before they come in person. And then for the first 15 minutes, they spend the time discussing the open-ended questions. How would you use Docs and Drive in a Shakespeare unit? How might you use Docs and Drive in a second grade classroom? For the first couple minutes of the PD, they're actually aggregating those responses and going through them. So along those lines, if you're interested in becoming a Google certified teacher or trainer, or if you want to just start out with the basics and pass the basics exam, there are 4 different levels of certification. So you can take a basics exam, which is about 60 questions. It takes about 15 minutes to a half hour. Shows that you know the basics, basic proficiency. You can also become a Google educator, which requires passing 5 out of 6 different tests on a specific subject. You can also become a Google Education Trainer, which is an application in addition to passing those exams. And finally, a Google Certified Teacher. A Google Certified Teacher is someone who's not only passed all of those exams, but applied and then gone to what's called the Google Teacher Academy, which is a really incredible experience for folks that do get to do it. It is rather elite, but it's something that has a great community of folks that are involved in it.
Are there any Google Certified Trainers?
Cool, I got some. Awesome. So a lot of great new options. If you had looked at this training site and tried to take an exam over the summer, you would have seen a large red bar at the top of the page that said, these exams are changing, warning, warning. And they have changed for the better, we hope. And again, this is all new, so if you have feedback, we'd love to hear it. All right, back to the resources. So that's some resources along the PD side of things. So we covered the business side, the numbers, PD. Now what about actually technical deployment? So the third slide has, actually this looks like it's four different documents specific to technical deployment. So these are all created by our team and include step-by-step resources. For example, the Google Apps for Education Deployment Guide has information about syncing with an Active Directory server and transferring and migrating data. So if you're on the technical side and you need somewhere to turn and you want a step-by-step how-to, these are some great resources to tap into. The Domain Best Practices Guide is really key for folks that are just starting and setting up their Google Apps domain. You want to get it right the first time as opposed to having to go back and rework some things. So this details some best practices with regard to setting up your domain. Pilot guide specific to Chrome pilots. If you're running a pilot, this is best practices from some of our early Chrome pilots. And the technical planning guide. Once you get the devices, how do you plan for those technically? What are some of the things you should be thinking about along those lines? Next is change management. One of the big reasons that we see district initiatives fail is because of the lack of culture change. And we address this, one, of course, through PD and training and community and education, but there's also a great deal of change management at the district level that is really great to have if you have a unified front. So this change management guide is some best practices around organizational change as you're going through the switch towards a Google environment. This was actually originally crafted with some best practices from higher education institutions, like the University of Texas and some other very large institutions that have gone Google. And so you'll see different topics about modeling leadership, about getting your district team on board, about using the tools, and it's pretty comprehensive. So I'll scroll through here, you can see all sorts of great strategies about really forming a community and getting everyone on board. So we covered change management, now content. So this content slide has some really fantastic resources. In addition to Chromebooks, of course, the Google offering is the platform of Google Apps for Education, and the devices, you have Chromebooks and also tablets with Google Play for Education. Is there anyone here who's piloting tablets with Google Play for Education? One? Cool. So we just released tablets with Google Play for Education in November of 2013. And it's a way to manage, deploy, and deliver content in the same way that you would with Chromebooks, actually. So many of the pain points that we hear with managing devices like iPads are that the devices are really hard to manage, they're difficult to deploy, and that the discovery of content is difficult as well. And so we can go into that in a little bit more detail. I'd encourage you to check out Tablets with Play for Education by doing a Google search. But basically, the program allows you to deploy tablets very quickly. It allows you to discover content in a special Google Play for Education store that has pre-vetted content and rated content. Then actually deploy that content in the same way that we share Google Doc with your students. The app downloads immediately on a student's tablet. So this content resource is specific to Play for Education as well as the Chrome Web Store. So this deck goes through, and I'll scroll down just a little bit here. It basically breaks out apps according to different tools. So for example, study and reference. It gives us apps and it tells us their availability across platforms, so Google Play and the Chrome Web Store. It gives us an overview. We found that this is really useful for folks that are kind of struggling and saying, well, how am I going to be sure that the iOS app that I'm interested in is in Google Play? And many of the top apps are there across platforms. And this is a great way to share with administrators and get kind of the news out of what is there across Google Play and Chrome. So this has 75 apps segmented out by productivity and organization, and you'll see each one of these has, Evernote for example, a direct link to the app in the Google Play Store as well as the Chrome Web Store. So this is a really fantastic resource just to show the breadth and depth of content that's out there across platforms, whether it's Chrome or whether it's Android. Okay, edsurge.com. Does anyone subscribe to the EdSurge newsletter each week? Yeah, a couple? So I would encourage all of you to sign up for EdSurge. It is a fantastic resource. The story behind EdSurge is that the founder actually used to work for the Washington Post and run their technology bureau. And she moved over to found her own company, EdSurge, which is specifically focused on what's going on in EdTech. They have a weekly newsletter that comes out on Wednesday for decision makers and one on Thursday called EdSurge Instruct for Teachers. You can sign up right there. The really cool thing, though, as far as content is concerned, is the EdSurge EdTech Index. And this is what I would like to show people as they're thinking about how to build out their web-based curriculum. So the EdSurge EdTech Index is basically a Yelp for all EdTech tools out there. You can go through and discover all sorts of amazing resources. Just a couple more things. There's an innovative link to innovative Chromebook teachers and recorded Hangouts here. A digital starter kit to get started in crafting your web-based curriculum created by Richland 2. And then one more link to the Chrome pilot guide that was linked at another part of the presentation as well. So that was a quick resource slam there, lots of information, but if you have that goo.gl link, there's some great things there, and yeah, good luck. Thanks.
So yeah, in 45 minutes you've learned everything you could possibly need to know about Chromebooks, so we appreciate you coming. Yeah, we realize we just scratched the surface on a lot of this stuff, and there's a lot of content that you can really dig in deeper and explore. But you know, if you'd like to come up to talk to any of us afterwards, we'll be hanging out here in front for a little bit. Thank you guys for coming. Enjoy the rest of your ice. I'll let Rachel say goodbye as well.
Wow. The other thing to remember is anything that was put into today's meet, we'll gather that and put that in the resources on the original site. You guys were awesome. You guys added some awesome things. Thank you to you for your participation. Have a great day, you guys.
And give them a round of applause because they didn't know they were going to do this until about 24 hours ago. And we asked them to
Surprise, you're going to present tonight. And thank you so much for helping us out. It was totally awesome.
Google in the house.
Yay!